Okay, so over the weekend, it seems that there were, there was more than one alleged terrorist plot rumbled in the UK.
More than one.
Seemingly coming from Iran. So I thought it was just, we need to talk about this a bit.
Yes.
Okay. I thought, because, all over the Western world, all over the world, there's terrorist issues. But these two seem to be coming specifically from Iran, sort of state actors in Iran. If we believe what we're told, there's not that much information coming out just yet. All the I've lined up like a number of things, like AP, Reuters, Guardian, BBC, Sky. They've all got sort of the same quotes, the same sort of small number of sound bites that they're going with at the moment. We'll see if and when these people ever come up for trial what actually is going on. So first of all, what was it? Was it on Saturday? There were two different groups of people, 8 men in total, 7 of which were Iranian nationals, but 2 different groups, and apparently they're saying they're not connected. But okay, I mean, that's sort of more worrying in a way.
The fact that they're Iranian.
Yeah. So I thought I'd read just a little bit, just to give you what the mainstream media is sort of telling us. 5 men are continuing to be questioned by police over an alleged terror plot in the UK. The men, including 4 Iranian nationals, are being held over an alleged plan to, quote, target a specific premises, the Metropolitan Police said. There's been some speculation, I stress this, absolute speculation, whether it's sort of Iranian expat journalists, which often seems to be an Iranian state target, other Iranians just in the West, whether it's France, Britain, America, wherever, that are anti-Iranian and say so openly in the West, they get targeted by...
They're going for Maya 2CT.
Or Maya 2CT, God, yeah. Or whether some
he's not particularly liked by them, is he?
No, I wouldn't. No, because he's vocal against them, isn't he?
He is.
Or whether they were going to target a Jewish or Israeli embassy or something. We don't know. That's just pure speculation. But the line is target a specific premises. So God knows really what it is, whether we'll ever find out. They were arrested in Swindon, in the West Country, in Wiltshire, where we are, of all places.
Yeah.
West London, Stockport, Rochdale and Manchester. And we were joking just before we went live, that like somewhere in the Iranian deep state, they're looking at sort of the Westminster, Whitehall, RAF bases, and Swindon High Street apparently is. I'm joking, of course. It's crazy.
There are barbers out there that are not under our control. Take them out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We need complete full spectrum dominance of barbers in Wiltshire.
Yeah.
Tehran is.
Yes. This is how we get our boys in. Get all the barbers in England. Hang on. The Afghans have got some... Good, take them out.
There's one Iraqi-controlled barber still left in Swindon.
Yes, that's the goal.
Send in the boys. Okay, so they go... Three other Iranian men were arrested in London on Saturday in relation to a separate counter-terrorism investigation, apparently. On Sunday, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper said that the 2 operations reflect some of the biggest counter-state threat and counter-terrorism operations that we have seen in recent years.
I'm pleased that they could distinguish that they were men.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes.
Claiming to be men. Let's not rule out that they are deep down, in fact, women.
Office has moved. Obviously, under the court case now, they state it out.
There was a clip of Yvette Cooper, and she was in total robot mode. As you can imagine.
Yeah.
Because all this stuff, as you say, sort of special branch, counter-terrorist police, MI5, it's all under the Home Office, so in other words, under her. So ultimately, the buck stops with her, as supposed to. The BBC article goes on here to say, as part of the investigation into alleged terror plot, police arrested the 5 men, 2 aged 29, a 40-year-old and another aged 46. In the early hours of Saturday morning, the 5th person's nationality and age has not been confirmed. The Met Police said the affected site, allegedly targeting the plot, had been made aware and was being supported by police. Footage showed an armed officer taking a man from a house in Rochdale.
Sorry.
This looks like something else.
Oh, I've just seen the last sentence. In Swindon.
Yeah.
No, in Swindon. That's got me.
Just quickly say that in Rochdale, another man was dragged through the streets in Swindon with plastic bags over his arms. It is understood military personnel were involved in the Rochdale raid. In Swindon, one eyewitness told the BBC that 6 men entered a cafe, which was actually Costa Coffee. Costa Coffee, which we've all walked past hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Hundreds of times. And the suspect had ordered a coffee and donuts.
They ordered coffee.
The police, the undercover military or police guy, ordered coffee and donuts.
A chocolate.
Oh, they dumped it. I'm sorry.
It's a cliche.
It is. Could I have 6 coffee and 6 donuts? Got to jump him now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We shouldn't be really making fun about this,
No.
but that sentence alone, it's almost out of a comedy sketch.
Like, we've got a really, really important sort of counter-espionage mission to do, but we could get a yum-yum while we're here, right?
Chocolate twist.
Yeah, we could.
Maybe a reduced price at a reduced price.
There's time for a Danish. Come on, lads. Come on.
Well, let's go.
Yeah.
I've finished now. Let's jump him.
Yeah. Wait, he's gone. Let's go. So
where do you go?
Before they followed him out and jumped on him. So there's a little sort of 9-second clip here, which we'll play.
Is this the Swindon one?
Yeah. So it's
how did they order the donuts and coffee with balaclavas on their head? Was that not the telltale sign that someone's coming for you? You come in with a balaclava. 6 coffees and donuts, please. Yeah. Jump him now.
Ignore the balaclava.
Yeah.
It's an anti-COVID measure. Don't worry about it. So anyone that knows Swindon can see that, like, there's the Iceland. Like, this is right in the middle of Swindon. It's really incongruous, really, really disturbing, really. And also this guy, if you can see, they've got they put some sort of plastic bags over his arms. I've never seen that before.
No.
I can only imagine it's to do sort of trying to preserve evidence.
Yeah.
Whether he had gunpowder residue or bomb-making chemicals on his hands or God knows what. I can only imagine that's...
I love the reaction of some of the people as they're being dragged past. Look at that girl on the left. Absolutely nothing. Doesn't even notice that 6 men are dragging a guy with a plastic bag around his head and his arms, and she's just carrying on.
Because anyone watching this, the cops or MI5 dudes, whoever they are, whatever they are, they're not in any sort of uniform. They're plainclothes balaclava guys dragging another dude through the street. In the middle of Swindon.
Is that saying it's a normal Saturday night in Swindon, just like that, and they're used to it?
Yeah, it's just horrible and worrying. So anyway, there's just lots of other links just to show even the local Wiltshire. Yeah. This is where it was.
Pretty cool to wear the keffiyehs on their heads with cameras.
Yeah. It's just, this is the world we live in now. I mean, one of the things I wanted to say, if you remember, certainly, Stephen, you're old enough, Stelios probably just about old enough to remember sort of a pre-9/11 world where Islam, let alone Islamic terrorism, was just unknown. I mean, unknown in the West, in Britain. Well, almost. There'll be some fedora tippers out there that will say, well, there's this there. It was almost unknown. I mean, I remember after 9/11, lots of people didn't know the difference between a Sikh and a Muslim.
No.
That's honestly true. There were some Sikhs that got sort of targeted and harassed or beaten up straight after 9/11 as a knee-jerk reaction thing, because people didn't know the difference. It just wasn't a thing. And now the West is flooded with an almost endless string of Islamic terrorism. So just for the younger people who might not be aware, it never used to be like this.
The world of Blair and Bush changed everything for us when they decided that they're going on a geopolitical rant to try and take on Iran and also China and Russia in the future by building up wars in Iraq, in Syria, and preparing all of this in Afghanistan. I can understand that they wanted to kill off communism, but having to do deals with the Taliban that suggested, and what came Al-Qaeda, that we will give you your country just like Israel has got its country with its own religion. You can have your own type of religion there, and then renege on it. What did they expect?
You're talking about the 1980s Mujahideen effort against the Soviets in Afghanistan.
That's when they first started to deal with it, and then
the
they
birth
built
of
it up.
sort of Al-Qaeda.
I've interviewed Dr. Jeffrey Bale. He's working on counterterrorism, and you can see the interview on our website. And he was saying that after the fall of the Berlin Wall, the personnel essentially was the same, and they didn't change the way they approached the terrorists, and they didn't take them as true believers. They thought they would deep down be able to strike a deal with them.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's the naivety. But then they decide to go to war, and as you keep bombing countries, it gives people a belief to leave, and then suddenly you're going to get people coming out of those into our countries who are not the genuine refugees and asylum seekers. They are part of the believers who they were running from. And that's what we're facing now. And the more that we do it, the more that we'll have.
You mentioned sort of the Bush and Blair years. Yeah, I can't stress again for sort of the younger generation that won't remember it, what a different world it was before 9/11. There was the famous George Bush, one of George Bush's State of the Union speeches where he said Iran, Iraq and North Korea.
Yeah.
There is a Cold War going on between the West and Iran.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, okay, just before I carry on, I'll just show there's sort of the Guardian talking. It's all over the news, Sky News. There was one that claimed there was, just hours away. The Standard claimed that an attack was just hours from being launched before being foiled by police. We won't listen to Yvette Cooper, just read the lines that other people have said for her. The Standard, another, I thought it was quite interesting, the Foreign Office has banned one or two Iranian organisations that they're saying are just, out and out bad guys.
Isn't it weird that we hear the police and the media saying actively it was a terror plot?
Yeah.
Well, that's the line.
And that was the motive.
But that's how it works. So you'll get a press office now who's either within the Home Office or those in the security services. They've got a press office team. They will create their legend with their press release, and the legend will have the lines that the certain selected journalists who are connected to that will be allowed to have. And all of them will be told that you've got to say the same line. This is all you're getting from us. And you're getting this as the lead for your organisation. So you get this kind of one-on-one relationship with the journalist, but you stay the same. So this is what Tony Benn used to say. When you say that we're in a democracy of media, you're not. You're in a democracy of one line being given to several media. It's always the same line.
Yeah, and also, sorry, just why I'm asking this is because when something does happen, we frequently have the whole establishment and the media saying it's too early for us to say it was terror attack or not. Yeah. It looks like they're not. It's not too early for them to say now. Yeah, right. I'm not saying it didn't happen and it wasn't. Just saying for next time, and all the times that they've said that it was too early to say.
But it also gives them an out.
Yeah.
You see, this is the important part of the line. If they've made a mistake, they can say it looks like it was, and then it turns out it's just a bunch of guys who were going to attack Homeland on the weekend or something like that. But we needed to go in this way just to make sure. So it does, that sort of language allows them to have that flexibility to be able to create the headline. After all, Iranians are now our current bad boys, and we need to ensure that they're constantly in the bad boy line. And if they make a mistake, it can fade away and no one will notice the difference.
You both made some good points. You used the word legend there.
Yeah.
Absolutely exactly the right term. That's what the intelligence services do, to create a legend around somebody or an organisation that they can then later point back at and say this is an established fact. And it may well not be. It may just be all skullduggery, all sort of espionage, lies piled upon lies. Who knows? But anyway, and the other thing you said, Sarah, where it's interesting to see when the establishment in cahoots with the mainstream media, when they'll say, oh, it's just mental health, or we don't know yet, it's too early to say, nobody knows, or they come out and say, no, this guy was this, like immediately.
Yeah.
I remember the LA shooting, the Las Vegas shooting, how quickly, immediately they came out and they said who it was and what was going on and everything behind it. And then in other ones, they just sort of feign ignorance.
We're going to Germany. They love all Muslim terrorists being mentally ill.
Right, yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever done it for terrorist reasons. They've only done it because they're not well.
Or he's actually a Christian, or he's actually a choir boy, or whatever it is. I mean, so, okay, but this time they're saying this is Iranian state-backed characters.
Yes.
NBC, obviously American, is saying there may be a link between these two different sets of raids, but our line is that it isn't. But anyway, AP just going with it as well.
Well, NBC is important because if you want to get the message about being anti-Iranian, then they're the ones to pass it from here back into the US. And the US now, all their newspapers will pick it up from NBC. So that way it now filters slowly across the United States through regional to local newspapers, mainly regional. It won't necessarily reach the locals. But that's a method that they use in terms of pushing it out. And AP will be the same in Europe.
So one of the things I wanted to say in this segment is to try and put a little bit more meat on the bones for people who might not know, because there is a long and storied and tumultuous backstory between Russia, Britain and the United States with Iran, or Persia as it used to be.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to maybe run through just a quick list for people. So if you, on your own time, if you want to look any of this stuff up. I mean, Britain and Iran, again, or as Persia as it used to be, we've to be absolutely honest, we have screwed with them quite a lot. Yeah. To be honest, they call us the old fox. They think that is what Iranians call us. Right. That's their nickname for us. Yeah. And in a derogatory way.
Oh, yeah.
Like this wily old fox who can't be trusted and will get in your chicken coop and kill all your chickens if it can.
Yeah.
I mean, they call America the Great Satan, don't they?
Yeah.
So, okay, just a quick list, whirlwind run through. I mean, going back to the 19th century, there was the great game between Tsarist Russia and the British Empire, a rush to control sort of Central Asia, places like Persia, Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, all sorts of what is today the Stans, Turkmenistan, Kurdistan, all that. A rush for that on the great chessboard, the devil's chessboard of world affairs.
Nothing has changed. This is just Herodotus, book 1.
It's just moved.
Who started it?
Yeah.
We'll send Blair into the stands to make sure that they come to our side. We'll give them some preferential treatment.
Now, if you're a Persian person, you would just obviously resent that. Who is Russia? Who's Moscow or London to tell us what we can or can't do and who our leaders are?
Yeah.
Don't blame them. I don't blame them. If there was some little country on the other side of the world that had screwed us over a dozen times over a century, like if Burma kept trying to screw with British politics all the time, you would hate them, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Resent them, be suspicious of them at the very least.
Yeah.
So in 1909, we created the Anglo-Persian Oil Company.
Yes.
Where we were just taking their oil.
Yeah.
Basically taking their oil for dirt cheap.
Yep, and giving them nothing back. Right. Apart from a few of our selected leaders that we put in there.
Right.
Led on later on.
So in 1921, the British basically orchestrate a coup in Persia to put in the Shah, the old Shah.
Yes.
There's basically 2 Shahs you need to know about, and this is the older one.
Yes.
But by World War II, in World War II, in 1941, we screwed them so badly. In 1941, Persia was completely not on anyone's side.
No.
And there was an Anglo-Soviet invasion. We just invaded them in 1941. And easily steamrolled them with just a few divisions, beat their army, installed somebody else, and not installed somebody else, but because the argument they made was that there was an outside possibility that some important railroads or roads might fall into the hands of the Nazis if Hitler did get his Panzer divisions all the way down to the Caucasus, and it's not a million miles away, and da-da-da-da. But of course Russia, or the Soviet Russia back then, was basically butting up against Persia. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, we just totally screwed them over in World War II. We was out of there by 1946, but nonetheless, once again, if you're an Iranian or a Persian, you would just look back at that, and you'd be annoyed, to put it mildly, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, you'd see some of your families being killed by these foreigners who've come all the way from a different land, and then they start stealing our assets and telling us what to do for the second time.
Yeah, right.
And you'd think warmly of them, wouldn't you? You'd want to pat them on the back, bring them in and sit them for dinner and say, how kind you are for destroying us and our country.
And stealing our resources.
Yeah, no, welcome to it. Please, have more.
But by 1953, a big important year for Iranian history is 1953. I mean, by 1951, they'd voted in democratically Mossadegh. And he was looking to nationalise all the oil in Iran. And by this time, it's more the CIA, the dark days of Alan Dulles, where he was ruling the world covertly. The CIA and the British decided we're just going to coup Mossadegh out
Yeah.
and bring the Shah back.
On the excuse that he was going to join the communists.
Right, yeah, just say whatever you need to say.
Yeah.
Just say whatever you need to say.
That's right.
And so, like, yeah, the great Tehran screw job of 53. Once again, I mean, me and Dan did a bit of content. I think probably in my top 10 most interesting bits of content. We did a bit of content there all about on the book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman, where among many other examples of American secret policy going on was the Mossadegh 53 thing. So we brought the Shah back. We enforced the Shah back on them, so we could keep getting the oil and all sorts of things. But then by sort of jump ahead to 1979, the Islamic Revolution, where they kicked out the Shah, the same Shah, the son of the old 1921 one we put in.
Yeah.
So in 1979, it didn't come out of nowhere. Like the Islamic faction in Iran didn't take those American people hostage. This is during Jimmy Carter, and hold them hostage for a year for no reason. They didn't come out of nowhere.
No, you're now looking back at least 79 to 100 years of people saying we've had enough of being controlled by another nation. We look at this as history. You can see that through the Roman Empire. You can see at the end of other cultural empires. People get tired eventually of being subverted, ignored, overruled, and basically controlled by entities that are not your own or are your puppets. And in a way, our leaving Brexit was one of those, because our puppets at the time installed upon us was the European Union. Again, not in the same way, and not in the same way of those countries, but I can understand it. And every time we have something like that, there are losses. You might get the family, the family of the Shah, who is a pretty nasty man as he was anyway, as we know that, as most dictators were. But there were hundreds of families that were actually benefiting, doing pretty well, that led them to leave. And we've talked about individuals who've had to escape because of that, doing very well. So they are the consequences of the great game continuing. And we have that great game continuing today.
Right, to this very day.
This very day.
Onto the streets of Swindon.
To the streets of Swindon's Costa coffee shop with buns and donuts.
Don't get me wrong, I am no fan of the Ayatollah Khomeini or the mullahs in Iran or the 1979 revolution or anything. I think it was a disaster for Iran, the Persian people. An absolute disaster. But by the same token, as you say, the Shah was a dictator.
Yeah.
He wasn't a good guy. I'm not a fan of either of these. I'm just saying what's happened. Because sometimes, in fact recently, people have taken, whenever I describe something in history, they think that's what I think. No, I'm just telling you what happened.
Well, Michael Foot once said, "He who does not know history does not know the future." And it doesn't mean that we agree or believe in every aspect of history, but you have to understand it to interpret it and apply it to where it applies today. And most of the time, it can be applied today. Not always. We know that if you're sensible. So no way would I think that you're a Shah supporter or a mullah too over there. You know, as soon as you go out of here, you put on your mullah kit. I mean, that doesn't happen.
I mean, Cicero said, the great Roman orator and philosopher Cicero said, to remain ignorant of the past is to forever remain a child. Yeah, you'll be groping around in the dark if you don't have at least some understanding of what happened before. Because the regime in Tehran is still the same one that was brought about in 1979.
Yeah.
Okay, and so it still goes on to this day. I mean, I remember during the Ahmadinejad era, do you remember at one point they captured some SAS dude or SBS guy? Do you remember that?
Yes.
I think it was at the very end of Blair or during the Brown years.
Southampton or Portsmouth or something like that, yeah.
So we're doing some sort of special forces stuff, like in Iranian waters.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff behind the scenes going on between us, not just us, also America. I mean, you remember when Trump blew up that Qasem Soleimani dude at an airport, just dropped a munition on his head. Yeah. And he's a really, really important guy in the Iranian state. They had like a whole state funeral for him and stuff.
But going on today, what we will undoubtedly never really ever be told, but without doubt, they're turning around and going, who can we replace? Who can we put as our puppet into Iran? I.e., who do we say will be the democratic leader, the Zelensky of Iran? And who are we going to find that will do our bidding, whatever we say, and we can promote him and we'll build up a nice marketing package about him. We'll give him some good credentials. We'll make him or her look good. And then we can just try and find the way of manipulating those in power in Iran to say, well, look, come on our side. and then let's have another coup, or we assassinate someone else here, and we create the gap for them to move in. That's happening all the time now, as we're doing trying to do in China, as we're trying to do in Russia. In any country that is not doing as they're told to us, we're doing that all the time.
And all of this isn't even to mention the Israel angle.
No.
I mean, depending on how belligerent any given Iranian government is, they say things like, we want to just roll Israel into the sea and stuff. And Israel say, we will not allow that to, obviously they say, we will not allow that to happen, whatever happens. You know, the people that are making decisions in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or the State Department in the United States, yeah, absolutely, they'll be looking to how can we manipulate Iran to be not a danger to us anymore. And if we can get their resources, that's a sort of extra gravy. But yeah, no, all that is absolutely going on. Yeah. And once again, if you're just an Iranian patriot or nationalist or whatever, you would just resent that to the ends of the earth, wouldn't you?
Yeah, all you'd want to say is, why can I not run my own country in the way that we want it to be run?
Leave us alone.
Leave us alone. You know, at the end of the day, let us run our own assets, our own things to benefit our nation. Why do you have to try and take over and control us? And it's ultimately about a long-term power game. Is he who controls all the assets controls the people, and then they can do what they're doing to us today. And none of this, they're doing in Germany.
None of this is to play defence or to be an apologist for what Iran's doing.
Not at all.
Not at all. I mean, I don't think George Bush was wrong, particularly to say that Iran, Iraq, and North Korea are an axis of evil. Not particularly. No. I mean,
I don't look necessarily at the leaders. What I'm worried about more about is the people. The people who have to go to work in any of those countries.
Oh, let's be clear, make a distinction between their governments and the average person. Of course.
Always got to do that, because at the end of the day, it's those people who are suffering. And when I look at what's happened in Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, yes, and Syria now, what's going on? Someone's lost their mum. Someone's lost their dad. Someone's lost their whole families. The anger inside of them, the solitude. No wonder you want to go off and kill somebody else for what you've done to their family. So you create terrorists. But on the other side, you also create those who are petrified, who live their lives in fear. That's what we end up doing. And so what we're playing on, whether it's banning the AFD for our security services or end result of Iran coming on attacking us, is part of what you're talking about. It's that long-term feeling of people saying, I've had enough.
Now, I've got a deep well of sympathy for your average North Korean person or Iranian person that's just oppressed. Yeah. Well, so one thing just to finish off on roughly is the idea that sort of, well, do you remember when John McCain one time, deep state shill, the late John McCain, he was once asked something about Iran, and he said bomb Iran. It's a take on Barbara Ann song by the Beach Boys. But like, okay, that's what the state, the deep state would want to do. Replace Iran's leadership if they could. Okay, so there's just all sorts of stuff going on with Iran. And now, just to finish off here, oh look, there's an old article from the BBC, how they call us the old fox. They don't trust us, nor particularly probably should they. But yeah, just say that the terrorism coming out of Iran is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, in the UK, we've got, if I keep scrolling down, here's a list. Look, it says 75% of all anti-terrorist work is from Islamist threats, and it's just a giant list of Islamic organisations that we fear might do terrorist stuff. That's not to mention actual lone wolf operators. Just quite a big list, and they're just the ones that Wikipedia, notoriously woke, notoriously captured Wikipedia, has put
I
up
often
there.
look at that huge list of the Quaker terrorist attacks. Just wonder how that compares to them.
Yeah, Quakers.
Yeah, the Catholic terrorist attacks. We have a league table of them.
Okay, so my time's up, so I have to leave it there. But just that happened over the weekend. Two completely separate Iranian-backed terrorist plots were foiled.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.